Tēnā koe te tuahine. I just wanted to bring us together to talk more about Mata Ārahi Manomano. Before we do that, ko te mea nui, ki te tuku he mihi ki a koe mo tēnei wā, o tira ki te whakawhanaungatanga I wainga I tāua, o tira ki ngā kai whakarongo o tēnei uiui. So I just wanted to pass on my thanks and gratitude for your time today. And also, just before we jump into what Mata Ārahi Manomano is to whakawhanaungatanga I te tuatahi. So, ko wai koe e no hea koe.
Tēnā koe, parata Darren. Ko wai ahau, ki te taho tōku pāpā, ko māki o te maunga, ko wai o te awa, ko Ngāti Patu mōna te hapu, ko te whakatohia te iwi, ki te taho tōku māma, ko Porongia te maunga, ko Waipā te awa, ko Ngāti Mahanga Haurua te hapu, ko Tainui te iwi, ko au te Mata Ārahi matua, o Ringahora. So I'm the Vocational Pathways Senior. Actually, I got promoted, so I got the senior put in front of it. So
Ooh, karawe.
Can't worry that one. So yeah, so Senior Vocational Pathways Advisor. Yeah.
Koe, tēnā koe. And a Senior Vocational Pathways Advisor, what sort of mahi is that within the Ringahora context?
It's I'd like to see it as a connecting role, a whanaunga role, where you're kind of connecting all the dots between, because there's multiple entry points into the career space. So whether it's coming from secondary or the tertiary space or even non-academic spaces. So, and you're connecting from all levels, from your learner to your providers, right through to your major stakeholders, TEC, MOE. So, yeah, that was really long-winded, but yeah, that's how I see it.
Kei te pai tērā, that's all good.
Yeah.
That's all good. Ka pai, so ka huri te tai ki te aronga o tātaua Uiui, which is Mata Ārahi Manomano. So beautiful name there, and from what I hear, you're the project lead and helped to lead in this project for Ringahora and the wider Ohu Ahu Mahi as well. So can you tell us about Mata Ārahi Manomano, perhaps the whakapapa of the name and a little bit about the project itself?
Nōku te honore. I could not have done this had, right from the beginning they had the likes of Matua Robbie, Paul, Tama, Te Hape Mana, even Te Whainua, he's left now. But they had put a tono in to provide names, Māori, ingoa, to our job titles. And so it was last year in June, and Te Hape Mana had come along to our Ringahora o Kaimahi Hui, and he presented all of us with these beautiful names. And obviously at that stage, Mata Ārahi was given to the Vocational Pathways Advisor role. So Mata is in your kānohi, and Ārahi is in terms of the pathway, so face of pathways. And with the inception of what was tagged back then as Project 30, and it remained Project 30 for a while, it was like, how can we honour, these beautiful ingoa to make sure that they're constantly used? And so, we had a kōrero amongst our Vocational Pathways Advisors, and we thought, we'll put the tono through to this rōpū that had created the names to see if we could utilise it for this specific project that had come up. So, yeah, they agreed. And so the addition of Manomano was just meaning many, multitudes, or innumerable. So for the project itself, the task was to develop a careers pathway framework. So to honour that, Mata Ārahi Manomano made sense. So the face of innumerable pathways, which is an acknowledgement of there's been so many pathways that are from the past. We've got present pathways, but then there's also a whole lot in the future that are unseen. So I just wanted something that would sort of encapsulate all of that and tell that story, that, so face of innumerable pathways, or Mata Ārahi Manomano.
Ka pai, and that's in essence the wairua of the project itself, eh?
Aye.
Ka pai, ka pai.
Ai.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add or tag on to the end of this for Mata Ārahi Manomano or ka pai tēnā?
Oh, yeah, so it's Mata Ārahi Manomano itself, you know, coming into this space, it was really important that, you know, we're out to transform a space. And like for a particular framework, it was really important that it had kaitiaki. And so having a look at, you know, what kind of aspirations, attributes, did we want that Māori of Mata Ārahi Manomano to have? So, and we're coming into Matariki space, so Hiwi Te Rangi is one of the kaitiaki for Mata Ārahi Manomano, because in terms of, so now she is the baby star of Matariki and Rehua, and that from a Māori sense, that is where our dreams and aspirations go to, Hiwi Te Rangi. So it made sense, well, if we're thinking in terms of careers or pathways, who else would we send those dreams and aspirations to? So it was important that she was a part of, she is one of the kaitiaki. The second kaitiaki, or not that they're in order or anything like that, but Maui. Now, Maui is a is a, you know, an atua or a demigod that is recognised throughout the Pacific. So, you know, that's a way of including our Pacific brothers and sisters, that they can resonate with Mata Ārahi Manomano as well. So in terms of Maui, if we have a look at all of the pūkōrero that have come out about Maui, he is really, he's a haututu, taringa kore, but his family are always with him. So they're there whether he's right or wrong, whether there's a raruraru, but they're quite consistent in the pūkōrero. But also that his adventurous spirit of, you know, and having goals, same thing, he's got these real determination, almost like a relentlessness, really. And so we've heard industries talk about having, you know, that attitude or that gutsy determination type thing. So it made sense that he was also one of the kaitiaki. And that brings me to Tāne Aukaha, or manifestation of Tāne, of being Tāne, the brave. And same thing, the ability to listen, but action. So listening and action at the same time. So all of those real cool characteristics, that's what we wanted to have really manifestate within Mata Ārahi Manomano. So once we knew who the kaitiaki were, it was about developing, so what do we want this framework to actually talk to? How can we start really putting some foundational stuff together based on that? So 6 po have been developed. So the first po is aroha. So and the po become really key talking points and they really help generate conversation, but they can also help, you know, guide. They can also help you review, depending on how you want to utilize it. That was one of the key things of Mata Ārahi Manomano, is that I didn't want it to be so rigid that people couldn't see themselves utilizing the tool. I wanted it to be liberal enough that people go, actually, I can see that I can use it in this way. So just going back to the po themselves. So aroha, if I was looking at it from a learner perspective, aroha in knowing who you are, where you're from, what are your core strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your likes, your desires, but that, you know, that real intent of love for self and knowing who you are. So aroha or aloha is the first po. And if I was looking at from an industry perspective and I was connecting with industry, I would apply that same thought process. How well do I know this industry? How well do they know themselves? Do they see their strengths and their weaknesses? And, you know, so there is a real good starting point for any relationship manager or an industry engagement lead to start a conversation on, and under the po of aroha. The second po is aspirations. So again, linking back in, do we know what the goals and aspirations are that we have for ourselves as individuals? Do we know where we're going? In the same sense, you use the same kōrero with industry. What are their dreams and aspirations? And as a workforce development council, how can we help them achieve those goals through, what our products are in terms of supplying them with good qualifications or good standards or good micro credentials, etc., understanding what it is they're trying to achieve, but also understanding our role and how we can help them achieve it through the upskill of their workforce. The next one is adventure. So looking at adventure, our appetites for adventure. How big are our appetites for the adventure, and how adventurous are we being, like in the development of our qualifications? Are we playing it safe? So when I say that, like if we have a look at the unit standards, will eventually retire and we'll come into a new phase of skill standards. Are we merely just putting a new name on it, or are we actually really applying some adventure here and trying to change the system in some way, shape, or form that's relevant, one, for our learners, but two, beneficial for our industry? So really applying that adventurous lens to it. What really do I get to? That's three. I've already done three, all getting there. Attitude is another one. So in terms of attitude, from an individual perspective, just looking at, I really love Angela Duckworth's mahi, and so she talks a lot about grit. So she's done interviews with thousands of people, whether they're sports people, entertainers, business people, and their common factor is having grit. So I really liked that point of, grit being a major tie or interconnecting thing for any group, or the major factor actually in her research. So having great attitude, and it's something that industry have tabled with us, and it doesn't matter whether it's a ringahora industry, waihanga araro industry, mukatangata industry, aha ko te aha. They've all said, send us people with great attitudes and we'll do the rest. So taking heed on that, attitude had to be there as one of our pos, and how can we influence them with our soft skill offerings and our qualifications. The next po is action. In action, obviously, you can have all the plans in the world, but if you're not going to take a step forward in making those plans fruition, then they're just words on paper. So action also had to be there, like in terms of what commitment, what steps are we taking towards making something happen? And again, bring it back to the individual. Only you can make it your career happen. Only you can build your skills up. And that's by you recruiting other people to help you. And also you putting in the hard mahi yourself. And that's the same with any industry. They're all about actions. They've got their plans, they've got the actions that come within the plan. So, it's worthwhile us getting to know that of an industry as well. What's on their top one? What are they looking to action? Again, how can we help them achieve that through our products and our offerings? And then our last po is angitu. And angitu translates as basically looks at success. What does success look like? And I guess that's the end goal, right? We all want to have some kind of success, however we define it. And I think that's really important, that if you're a learner, your success is defined by you and nobody else. And I guess it's the same with industry. They've got what success looks like to them. So, yeah, those are really key words. But interesting fact is, you know, we've got our priority learners tangata whai kaha Māori Pacifica, but we've also got our LGBT plus community, and just with angitu in talking to young rangatahi, and what really resonated for them is, like angitu as in the, you know, like on stage angitu, matatini angitu, the competitors. Yes, that's, and like for me, one of my nieces is takatapu, and she goes, I know what angitu means. And she was Australian, Māori, but, you know, born in Australia, most of her schooling done there. But that she resonated, and, you know, I was like, oh, that's cool. So even, you know, our other communities will resonate with angitu for challenging status quo and their own self-determination of mana motuhake. So I think that's really cool that that they'll also identify the word of angitu success, but also challenging the status quo, so to speak. But with angitu, it's also about embracing the failures within the journey. I think in New Zealand, we on Aotearoa, we get hung up on having to always be really perfectionist and being perfect. But with anything, there's going to be massive failures, and it's our resilience to overcome that and acknowledge that it's all a part of the journey, and accept it as it is. It's like, actually, I really stuffed that one, but oh well. Learn from it. Learn from it.
Exactly.
So
And that
in a
goes back
nutshell,
to the whakatauki as well, tūwhitia te hopo, mai rangatia te angitu. To feel the fear and bent, but do it anyway. Ka pai.
Absolutely.
It sounds like he maha ngā matauranga I roto I te Mata Ārahi Manomano, he maha ngā mea pai, hua ngā huhua hoki e pāna ki ngā rangata ki ngā pakeke whai tonu ana he arahi mā rātou. Nō reira, e mihi ka tika ki a koe I tēnei wā, e te tuahine mo tēnei uiui, a tāua o tira mā rātou e whakarongo mai nei hoki. So it sounds like there's some really beautiful things inside Mata Ārahi Manomano, right down to, you know, the whakapapa of the name, through to angitu itself, making connections to our wider communities, and to, you know, a really one word with has a lot of meaning to our country, our mutu, and our wider communities and our people as well. So I really enjoyed you sharing that information with us today, and the pou as well, personified into our kaitiaki too. So e mihi tēnei kia rātou ngā atua hoki, kia hiwa I te rangi, mau I tiki a taranga, rātou ko tāne aukaha hoki. So it's really beautiful to see that personified in our atua as well. E mihi tēnei kia koe e te tuahine mo tēnei wā, e mihi ana. So that brings us to the end. Kua pou te wā mo tēnei wā, engari no mātou te māringa nui, te whiwhi, te waimari e hoki mo tēnei marauranga, mo tēnei matauranga hoki. E mihi ana ki a koe e te tuahine. Kia ora.
Kia ora.